Happy Yom Ha'atzmaut. Happy Israel Independence Day. This is a special day 71, and wanted to share with you a beautiful teaching that I found by the Sfat Emet, Rabbi Yehuda Leib Alter of Ger, end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century of Poland. He was one of the original Ger Rebbes. And what I like about it is that he is talking about planting trees in Israel. So Israel is so associated, especially for those of us who live outside of Israel, around the world. There's been for decades since I guess before the country has started in 1948, the custom of buying a tree and planting a tree in the land of Israel. So planting is a physical act of putting a sapling in the ground, but it has so many other layers to it. It's about rooting, putting roots into the ground, and it's about putting roots into the ground of being. It's about putting roots in the ground of one's own being, and about putting roots in the ground of one's our people's being. In a very short teaching, the Sfat Emet looks at a pasuk from Parshat Kedoshim, our parsha this week, which also happens to be Yom Ha'atzmaut. And since there's no greater mission than replenishing and planting and nurturing the natural environment at this time, as a balancing act against the depletion and the extraction and the exploitation that we humans have been exacting on planet Earth. So it's both a physical and a spiritual mission to be planting on all levels. So let's look at planting as a metaphor for spiritual as well as environmental, as well as national, in just a few short words by the great Sfat Emet. And here we go. The Midrash, it is written in the Midrash, V'chi tavo el haaretz v'natatem kol etz ma'achal. And this is a quote from our Parsha, Kedoshim. And when you come to the land, which is the land of Israel, v'natatem kol etz ma'achal, and you shall plant all manner of all kinds of edible trees, and so on and so forth. And then it tells you, it goes on to tell us what to do. There's a whole list of instructions. You're going to let the tree for the first 3 years, you're not going to touch its fruit. On the fourth year, you're going to dedicate its fruit to the temple, and only on the fifth year, you will then benefit from the fruit for yourself as food, and also then you can also commercially benefit. So those are the mechanics of the mitzvah, of the instruction in the Torah. And in the Midrash, which is Vayikra Rabbah, it links this verse with another verse from Proverbs, Mishlei, and that says, Etz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it. And this is actually in the prayer of the Torah service. When we put the Torah back into the ark, it is customary to sing, that verse, Etz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba, etc. So, and in that prayer, we're referring to the Torah. So the Torah is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it. So you see that as we're talking about planting trees, the Torah mind, the great, the expansive Torah mind, the sort of spiritual dimension of Torah, is thinking of tree not only as a physical, biological plant, but also as the paradigm for life. Has roots, has branches, it grows, it gives life, and for those who hold on to it, they are nourished, right? Obviously, so we're talking about in the parsha. We're talking about, and when you plant fruit-bearing trees, and the fruit are life givers. So you see that there's a mix of. It's a very apt metaphor relating to a tree as not only a tree that gives life, but as life itself that gives life. So this is just a setting of the stage, right? What in our own life, how do we dig roots? Where's our ground? What holds us? How do we put out branches? Where do we branch off to? What are our branches reaching to? Typically up to the sky, to the heavens, to the sun. What is the sun we are drawing on, metaphorically or spiritually, right? So the sun is some kind of light, some kind of flow from the source of spirit into our own spirit, right? Great spirit to limited spirit, right? And the branches are the funnel that allow that to come in. So let us embody that metaphor as we continue with the teaching. Isn't it beautiful? It's really great. It's a tree as pattern, a tree as principle, right? And what happens in the tree? In the tree, there's a flow of sap, the sap going up. The tree breathes out oxygen, and it takes in carbon dioxide. And you see how this ecology of both biological and spiritual works together. Pirush, the Sfat Emet continues here. This means Koach HaNetiyah nitan lifnei Israel. The people of Israel were given the power of planting or implanting. שיכולים לנטוע ולהידבק כל דבר לשורשו. Because they have the ability to plant in the sense of attach everything to its root. And what is the root? The root is a spiritual root. Okay, the cosmology that is informing this teaching is that everything in existence is drawing on a root in a dimension beyond this dimension, right? You can think of it as the baby's root is the umbilical cord that attaches it to the mother that gives it birth. Okay, so the umbilical cord is that which nurtures the baby, and even when it's cut, what remains? There's a bond of nurturance between the baby and the mother, of a flow which is not nutrients of physical nature, but there's more of an emotional nature, right? The bond between child and mother forever. And so, if we take this one step higher into the paradigm of spirit, there's this ongoing nurturing, ongoing flow from the root, the source of nurturance on a spiritual level to our spirit all the time. And here, what I'd be curious to hear, if you would write in a comment below, is how do you experience that flow, that nurturance from the root, from your root in spirit to your existence of your spirit in your life, in your circumstances, in your body, right? Is this theoretical, or is this something that actually speaks to you? Something that you feel in a unique way, a way that's unique to you. Often people talk about their defining spiritual experience as some kind of interaction, some kind of flow, and only you know what that is for you. Some kind of transmission from a dimension that is greater, higher, state of mind that's more expansive into your ordinary existence, right? Your cognition, your sense of self, your identity, your life of, moment to moment, daily life in your circumstances, in your environment and world. So what is that to you? Maybe connecting to your spiritual root is or was your spiritually defining moment. Let's share. So we have the power to plant, to connect everything in this world to its root. And according to Lurianic Kabbalah, this is actually the purpose of every human being, is to, in this world, is to connect things to the root and spirit. And how do we do that? We do that with the power of Torah, with the power of our spiritual study and our spiritual inquiry. And that is why it says, it is written, eternal life has been planted within us. So you see, he's interpreting that verse to say, it's not that eternal life has been planted in us. Read it, actually, let's invert it. Read it, what was planted in us is the power to connect everything to eternal life. See that? It's a great compliment, really, and great confidence in what it means to be human. We have the power through spiritual intentionality and spiritual effort and spiritual learning, inquiry, to actually bring about repair of that which is broken. And when in Kabbalah we think about brokenness or shatteredness in the world, we think about things being disconnected from their spiritual root. V'natatem kol etz ma'achal. And now he's going to go back to the original verse in Kedoshim. And you shall plant every fruit-bearing tree, lirot levatel kol davar leshosho. So that means not only planting fruit trees in the land of Israel, but it also means the ability to annul everything's separate existence by reconnecting it to its higher root. I'll say that again. It's powerful. That we have the potential to annul, to cancel, to cancel out the separatedness of anything by reconnecting it to its root. So let's take that in. This is it has a sort of like a very subtle and abstract sense, but it's also very powerful. And what's powerful about it, and this is the connection to Independence Day, to Israel, that this ability to plant fruit-bearing trees is specific to when you come to the land of Israel. So there's a spirituality that becomes available to us when we return to the land of Israel. This is the significance of the land of Israel in Jewish tradition, beyond just having a national a home, a place we can call our own. And I'm not putting down the Zionist pragmatic effort to create safety and prosperity and normalcy for the Jewish people, so we can be a Am Kechol Amim, we can be a people like all people. But on the level of bringing something really good, of teasing out a potential for a life that's really good, that's elevated, that requires going back to the land of Israel, not only as a pragmatic national project, but as a spiritual project that is there to unleash a force of good, not only for the Jews, but really for the whole world. And how does that work? And he says it here. So let's go back to the text. Vehi kal b'chinat Eretz Yisrael. And this is the purpose of the whole aspect of the land of Israel. So this spiritual project, this spiritual planting, is the ikar, is the core, is the essence of the bechina, the aspect or the element of the land of Israel in the Jewish enterprise. So on Shabbat, at the end of the morning prayer, during the Musaf prayers, we say V'titeinu b'gvulenu, and we look forward to the day when you plant us within our bounds, within our land, right? So the question is, are we only to be planted? First of all, are we trees? What does it mean, plant us within our bounds, right? I mean, we're people. How about transition us, transport us to our land or within our bounds, but plant us in our bounds. So what's the planting? The planting is not a planting only in the land. It's a planting within a destiny, a purpose. You see that? שמקודם צריכים לנטוע נפשותינו בשורש. And here he wraps it up with what this is all about, that the first order of business is that we should be planting our souls in its root. We should be planting our soul, our spiritual purpose within its root, within the land, as an exercise that potentially can bring connectivity, can connect everything in the world, cancel out disconnection, cancel out alienation, cancel out confusion, cancel out spiritual blindness, but connect everything to its higher purpose. And when we do that, when we are planted in our land, in our ground, So this is the metaphorical and mythical land of Israel. And this is not to diminish the actual national land of Israel. But if we're only returning to Israel in order to survive, are we really thriving in the sense of connecting to our spiritual purpose as a Jewish people? And he plants that, he roots that in a verse from Deuteronomy 20:19 that says, "And a human being is exactly like the tree of the field." And this is where we started. So, happy Independence Day, happy Israel. Let us be planting for the sake of the environment, planting for the sake of our souls, planting for the sake of the land of Israel, the people of Israel, planting for the sake of peace. Because as we plant ourselves in the land of Israel and in our own, in the ground of our own spiritual destiny, we exude a wholeness and a light that must be manifested as peace, as that inspires others, Palestinians, African immigrants, the different streams, ethnic streams within the people of Israel, if it's Ethiopians or Russians or Western Europeans or Africans, Indian Jews, Yemenite Jews, Sephardi, Ashkenazi, if we're all planted in the root, the land of our destiny, and rise up to a higher spiritual calling, imagine the joy and how contagious that is. So this is how the tree reaches its branches towards the light, and then the garden is indeed a luscious one. How fitting it is that it is the beginning of spring. It is the birthday of the land of Israel and of the modern state of Israel. Again, Chag Sameach, and may we all be blessed. I'm Rabbi Reuven Modik with Makom Halev Community in Nyack, New York, and with Hebrew Learning Circles, a very unique educational program where we bring Torah and inspiration into the home. If you're in the neighborhood, drop a note, comment. I'd love to hear your responses to this beautiful teaching of the Sifat Emet. Like us if you're watching us on YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel. With that, we're going to conclude and come back for more. Tomorrow, the next day, we're going to be on almost every day with inspirational teachings about Kabbalah, identity, meaning. Shalom.